The first time the stairs disappeared, I thought I was losing my mind. I'd just come back from a late shift, bone-tired, walking up the spiral staircase in my rented house. The one that loops neatly around the center of the place, like a corkscrew. I was halfway to my bedroom when the steps beneath my feet just stopped. Not crumbling, not breaking, just gone. 1 second I was climbing. The next, I was dangling in open air, flailing like an idiot before slamming my shin into the edge where the stairs should have continued. My phone went flying, clattering into the dark below. I froze, staring down into the hollow of the house, where the floor should have been. Except now it was just black. Not dark, not shadowed, black. Like a hole punched through reality. And in it, something moved. It was shaped like a dog, but bigger. Its body was a smear, edges trailing off into nothing, like smoke that refused to rise. No eyes, no fur, just a dripping outline of a hound-shaped void. It stared up at me. I swear to God, I felt it staring. I scrambled backward, knees banging the rail, and in that blink of panic the stairs were suddenly there again, solid under my palms. My phone buzzed from the floor below, its cracked screen lighting up like a lighthouse in the dark. But I couldn't go down to get it. Not after what I saw standing in that black space. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of my bed with the lamp on, every nerve buzzing, listening for claws on wood or panting in the dark. Nothing came, but I couldn't shake the image of that black dog, the way its body bled into the air like it wasn't made of matter. The next morning, I told myself it had to be exhaustion, some kind of hypnagogic hallucination. I'd read about those before, your brain filling in shadows with shapes. Except hallucinations don't usually take your stares away. When I finally went downstairs, my phone was exactly where it had landed. Shattered screen, spiderweb glass. I crouched to pick it up, but when my fingers brushed the floorboards, they were cold, like ice on bare skin. The chill crawled up my arm, and I yanked my hand back. The phone buzzed as soon as I touched it. The cracked screen flickered and lit up with a message. Not from anyone in my contacts, not from any number at all. Just 4 words in blocky, jagged letters. Stop looking at it. I dropped the phone so hard it bounced against the wall. That's when I realized I wasn't alone in the house. Somewhere above me, faint but distinct, came the slow creak of a footstep. The sound of that footstep was deliberate, not the settling of old wood, not pipes. A step. I held my breath, waiting for another. When it came, it was lighter, like someone barefoot, trying not to be heard. I grabbed the nearest thing I could use as a weapon, which happened to be the heavy glass lamp from the side table, and crept toward the staircase. My cracked phone lay on the floor by the wall, its screen still glowing faintly, like it wanted me to pick it up. I didn't. The spiral stair wound upward in a perfect circle, vanishing into the ceiling cutout where the bedrooms were. And that's when I noticed something wrong again. The stairs didn't go all the way up. I swear to you, I had walked them 100 times, all the way to my room. But now, after about 10 steps, they just ended, like a broken spiral in midair. The top half of the staircase was gone, and standing at the edge of where it should have continued was her. A woman, pale uniform, white dress, a cap tilted on her head. A nurse, but not like the ones you see now. More like something from an old photo, her face blurred at the edges like the print had faded. She wasn't moving, just standing there, hands clasped, looking down at me. Her mouth open like she wanted to say something. What came out was a wet, gurgling cough. And then she was gone. But the echo of that cough stayed, hanging in the air. The cough wouldn't stop. Even after the nurse vanished, I could still hear it. Wet, ragged, like lungs filling with water. It wasn't upstairs anymore. It was closer. I backed into the living room, clutching the lamp like it would make a difference if something actually came at me. My phone buzzed again from where it lay cracked against the wall. Against my better judgment, I picked it up. Another message. Same jagged letters. She doesn't belong here. The coughing stopped. The silence that followed was worse. I told myself I was done, that I'd leave, grab my keys, and not come back. I didn't care if the landlord kept my deposit. But when I opened the front door, it wasn't my street outside. It was a narrow 2-lane road cutting through endless fields. No houses, no cars. Just tall grass swaying in the wind and a dim, unnatural glow on the horizon. And there she was again, the nurse. Only now she was standing in the middle of the road, swaying slightly, like she was trying to keep her balance. When her head turned toward me, I realized she had no eyes. Just dark, sinking hollows where they should have been. That's when I heard claws scrape the floorboards behind me. The scraping came again, slow, dragging, deliberate. I spun around, lamp raised, and the temperature in the house dropped so fast I could see my breath puff in the air. At first, nothing. Just the spiral stair ending in the void above, the living room stretching out around me. Then, it stepped into view. The black dog. No sound of paws on wood, just the scrape, like nails dragging across something unseen. Its body rippled wrong, edges bleeding away into the air as if it wasn't solid. The longer I looked at it, the less I could tell where it ended and where the shadows of the room began. It tilted its head, and the void where its face should be seemed to widen. Like it was smiling. I backed toward the open door, toward the impossible road where the nurse waited. My brain screamed at me to pick one horror over the other. Dog or nurse? Darkness or emptiness? That's when the phone in my hand buzzed so hard I nearly dropped it. Another message. Choose. The dog took one step forward. The nurse on the road took one step closer. Both waiting for me. I don't know why I did it. Maybe because she looked human, or at least closer to it. Maybe because the dog felt like staring into a hole that would never let me back out. I stepped outside, onto the two-lane road. The air hit me like a wall, thick, damp, smelling of rot and rain, even though the sky overhead was empty and pale. When I turned back, the house wasn't behind me anymore. Just more road stretching on, vanishing into fields of black grass that seemed to sway without wind. The nurse stood a few yards ahead. She wasn't swaying now. She was still, waiting. I called out, my voice cracked in the strange air. What do you want? Her head twitched, and she raised one arm. Slowly, she pointed down the road. That's when I saw them. Figures, half hidden in the tall grass on both sides. Shadow shapes, faceless, but with heads tilted toward me like broken mannequins. They didn't move, didn't step out, just watched. The nurse's mouth opened again, but no cough this time. Just two words, whispered so faint I felt them more in my bones than in my ears. Keep walking. Behind me, from the direction of the vanished house, came the sound of claws on pavement. I didn't want to walk. Every instinct screamed at me to run in the opposite direction, but there was no opposite direction anymore. Just road and fields that went on forever. So I followed her. The nurse moved strangely, her feet never quite touching the ground, her shape flickering like an old VHS tape struggling to hold the image. Every few steps she'd glance back, those hollow sockets locked on me, making sure I was still there. The figures in the grass followed too. They didn't walk. They didn't sway with the plants. They just shifted. One moment a figure would be to my left, the next it would be closer, angled differently, but I'd never see it move. Like missing frames in reality. The claws behind me grew louder. A slow, deliberate rhythm, scraping along the pavement as if the dog had all the time in the world. I whispered, "Why me?" to the nurse's back. She stopped so suddenly I almost walked through her. Her head tilted, and she leaned close enough that her cold breath brushed my ear. "They hear you." Then she started walking again, faster now. And from the fields, the shadow figures began stepping out onto the road. The first shadow stepped onto the asphalt like it was learning how legs worked. Jerky, too slow, then too fast. Its head lolled to the side, and though it had no eyes, I knew it was staring straight at me. Another stepped out from the grass on the opposite side. Then another. They formed a staggered line across the road, their shapes flickering between solid and smoke. I could hear the static of their movement, like a radio trying to catch a dead signal. The nurse didn't stop. She walked straight through them. Her body shimmered like water disturbed by a stone, and the shadows parted for her. But they didn't part for me. I froze. The claws behind me grew sharper, faster, scraping, dragging, tearing at the pavement. The sound of something pacing, circling. I took a step back without meaning to, and one of the shadows mimicked me. Perfectly. Step for step. That's when my phone buzzed again in my hand. My cracked screen lit up with another jagged message. Do not stop. The nurse was already 20 yards ahead, and the shadows began to close the gap, filling the road like spilled ink. I had to move. I ran. Straight at the shadows. The first one didn't move. It let me get close enough to see its edges fray, unraveling like fabric burning in reverse. Then it lunged. Cold slammed into me. An emptiness that wasn't touch, wasn't pressure, but still forced the air out of my lungs. My vision went white for half a second, and when it cleared, I was on the other side, stumbling, my skin crawling with pins and needles like something had passed through me. The others twitched, jerked, turned their faceless heads. They didn't lunge, not yet. Just copied me. Every step, every breath, lagging half a second behind. A broken reflection. The nurse was further ahead now, moving faster than before. She didn't turn around. I sprinted, desperate, but the claws behind me drowned out everything. A rhythm now. Faster. Louder. Like the dog wasn't following anymore, it was charging. I didn't dare look back. But I knew, with every nerve in my body, that if I slowed down for even a second, it would take me. And then the road ended. Just like that. The asphalt dropped off into nothing. A sharp cliff, an endless black below, stretching wider than I could see. The nurse stopped at the edge. And finally, she turned to face me. She stood at the cliff like she'd been waiting there forever. The nurse lifted one trembling arm and pointed down into the black. Her hollow sockets never blinked, never shifted. Just fixed on me, waiting. I skidded to a stop, chest heaving, the cracked phone slick with sweat in my hand. Behind me, the claws hammered the pavement, closer, closer, the sound of something too big to belong in the shape of a dog. I can't, I whispered. My voice sounded small, eaten by the open void below. I can't. The nurse tilted her head, and her mouth opened wider than it should have. Her jaw stretched, cracked, unhinging with a wet snap. From inside that black maw came the same jagged voice as the texts on my phone. Jump. The road shook. The shadow figures swarmed behind me now, closing in, their static buzz bodies reaching, twitching. And the claws, so close I could feel the pavement splinter beneath them. I looked into the void below, the nothing that seemed to breathe, to want me. My phone buzzed again, hard enough to hurt my palm. I glanced down. A new message. Only one way out. The nurse's mouth kept moving, stretching further, her words now leaking into my skull instead of my ears. Jump. And behind me, the void dog exhaled, hot, fetid air crawling up my spine. I don't remember deciding. My body just moved. I leapt. For a split second, gravity didn't feel real. My stomach lifted into my throat, my limbs flailed for something solid. But there was nothing, just the endless black swallowing me whole. I braced for impact. It never came. Instead, I hung suspended in the void, falling without falling. My phone screen glowed faintly in the dark, the only light anywhere, casting sickly cracks across my face. The nurse's voice echoed from nowhere and everywhere at once. Now you see. Shapes began to form in the dark. At first, I thought it was stars, but they were too close. Too wrong. Dozens, no hundreds, of faces. Pale, hollow-eyed, floating around me in the void like drowned corpses rising in black water. Each one opened its mouth, but no sound came. Then the phone buzzed. One new message. Don't look at them. Too late. My eyes had already locked onto one of the faces drifting inches away. It jerked, shuddered, and then slammed forward, straight into mine. I screamed, but no sound came out. The face pressed against mine, skin cold and rubbery, mouth stretching wider until it covered my own. I tried to shove it away, but my arms moved like they were buried in tar. Then it breathed into me. Not air, something thicker, heavier, like liquid shadow pouring down my throat. I gagged, choking, my chest seizing as it filled me. My vision flickered with static, my head buzzing like a broken speaker. Through the blur, I saw the other faces closing in, their mouths opening in perfect unison, ready to do the same. The phone vibrated violently in my hand, the cracked glass searing hot against my skin. Another message flashed. Run. But there was nowhere to run. I was falling in place. And then, just as the next face lunged for me, something yanked hard at the back of my shirt. My body jolted upward, ripped out of the void like a fish on a hook. I hit the pavement with a bone-jarring crack. I was back on the road. The nurse was gone. The faces were gone. But the dog wasn't. It stood over me, close enough that the edges of its body blurred into my chest. I couldn't tell where I ended and it began. And for the first time, it spoke. Not aloud, but inside my skull. You chose wrong. The words in my head weren't just sound. They were weight. My skull throbbed like it was splitting open from the inside, my teeth buzzing in my gums. I tried to crawl backward, but my limbs weren't obeying. Every time I moved, the edges of the dog's body bled further into me, dragging me closer to that void smear of a shape. Then its head bent low, so close I could feel heat searing my skin. No eyes, no muzzle, just a black funnel of absence swallowing the space where its face should be. The phone buzzed in my hand. I almost didn't look, but the vibration was frantic, shaking so violently it hurt. One new message. Don't let it in. I screamed. Hoarse, broken, how? And for the first time, the shadows in the grass answered. They moved. Dozens of them, jerking out onto the road, static crackling in the air. Their faceless heads all turned toward me, every shape twitching in unison. Then, like puppets pulled by one string, they raised their arms and pointed, past the dog, past the road, toward the black fields. The dog's voice burrowed deeper into me. Stay. The shadow's static roared in my head. Run. Both commands tearing me in half. I don't know why, but in that moment the shadows felt less dangerous than the dog. Maybe because they pointed, gave me something that looked like choice, while the dog only consumed. I staggered to my feet and bolted toward the fields. The grass swallowed me instantly, towering, black, brushing against my shoulders and face with a texture that felt wrong, not plant but skin. Each blade twitched as I passed, curling slightly as if reaching for me. Behind me, the dog roared. It wasn't a bark, not even an animal sound. It was the sound of tearing fabric, of concrete splitting, of something breaking the world to follow. The shadows didn't move to stop me. But as I pushed deeper into the grass, I realized they weren't just standing still. They were following alongside me, their faceless heads flicking in stutters, always keeping pace. The phone buzzed again, nearly slipping from my sweat-slick hands. Don't look back. I didn't. Couldn't. The roar of the dog thundered closer, shaking the ground beneath my feet, bending the black grass outward in a wave. And then, suddenly, the field opened up into a clearing. In the center stood a house. Round, white walls, circular windows. The same spiral staircase visible through the glass. My house. Only it was sideways, canted at an impossible angle, like it had been dropped here from above. And the front door was already open. The open door gaped like a mouth, tilted at a sharp angle, shadows spilling from inside. Every sane part of me screamed not to go in, but the roar behind me was closer now, flattening the grass like a storm surge. I dove through the door. The world lurched sideways the instant I crossed the threshold. My stomach dropped, my legs buckled, and suddenly I was standing upright, even though I knew the house lay on its side. The spiral staircase loomed in the center, climbing upward in its endless corkscrew. Except this time, the stairs didn't vanish. They wound up, higher and higher, into a shaft of blinding white light. For a second, I thought maybe this was the way out. Then I heard footsteps above me. Not the nurse. Not the dog. These were heavy, frantic, stumbling, like someone running down the staircase. I gripped the railing and looked up just as a figure appeared. It was me. Same clothes. Same cracked phone clutched in his hand. His face twisted in terror, eyes wide and bloodshot. And as he barreled down toward me, he screamed one word over and over, raw and broken. Don't. I froze on the stairs. My double thundered down toward me, face pale, lips cracked from screaming. The word tore out of his throat again, shredding into static as he neared. Don't. I pressed back against the railing, but he didn't slow. His eyes locked on mine, and for a sickening moment it felt like looking into a mirror that hated me. When he reached me, he didn't collide. He passed through. It was like plunging into ice water, every nerve going numb, lungs seizing, bones rattling. For a heartbeat, I wasn't myself anymore. I was him, falling, screaming, plummeting into the endless black void I thought I'd escaped. Then it was gone. I staggered, nearly tumbling off the stair. My phone vibrated violently in my hand. The screen glowed with a new message, smeared letters flickering in and out of focus. He didn't listen. From below, the front door slammed shut with a force that shook the whole house. And then I heard it, the claws on wood. Slow, deliberate, echoing from the bottom of the staircase. The dog had come inside. I ran upward. I didn't think, didn't breathe, just bolted. My hand slid along the railing, slick with sweat, the spiral blurring as I climbed. The claws below followed. Not hurried, steady, patient. Each scrape echoed up the hollow center of the house, bouncing off the walls until it felt like the sound was inside my skull. The light above grew brighter, so bright it hurt. My cracked phone buzzed again, and for a moment I thought about throwing it away. But my hand wouldn't let go. Another message blinked across the fractured screen. Faster. I obeyed. Legs burning, lungs ripping. I tore up the stairs until my vision tunneled. The light widened, swallowing the top of the spiral, and for a moment I thought I was going to burst through into daylight, into freedom. But then I saw her. The nurse. She was standing in the light, waiting, her white dress glowing so bright it blurred her outline. Her jaw hung loose, swaying slightly, her empty sockets locked on me. As I neared, she raised both hands, palms out, like she was warning me back. And in her voice, the same jagged tone that had haunted every text, I heard her say, "Too late." I skidded to a stop just below her, chest heaving. The light behind the nurse was so bright it burned, but it didn't feel warm. It felt hollow, like staring into a hospital bulb that never switched off. "Please," I rasped, "just tell me what you want." Her head tilted, sockets fixed on me. Her hands shook like she was trying to hold something back. Then she whispered, not the jagged phone voice this time, but her own, thin, trembling, almost human. Not me. Before I could ask, the claws below struck the stairs with a force that made the whole spiral shudder. The dog was coming fast now, no longer patient, each scrape exploding like nails on metal. The nurse flinched, turned toward the light, then back to me. Her jaw cracked wider than human, and this time the jagged voice returned, ripping out of her throat. "Choose again." The phone in my hand vibrated so hard it felt like it would shatter. 2 messages blinked at once, fighting for space across the fractured glass. "Step into the light. Go back." Behind me, the spiral groaned as something massive started climbing. Ahead of me, the nurse's outline began to flicker, as if she couldn't hold her shape anymore. The claws were almost on me, the wood splintering under their weight. I didn't think. I lunged forward, straight into the blinding light. It swallowed me whole. For a second, there was nothing. No sound, no body, just weightless white. Then the world snapped back, and I was standing in a hallway I didn't recognize. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Linoleum floors stretched in both directions. The air reeked of antiseptic. A hospital. Somewhere down the corridor, I heard the squeak of rubber soles. A nurse's shoes. I staggered forward, my cracked phone still clutched in my hand. The screen lit with a new message. "Not out. Not yet." I turned a corner and froze. There she was, the nurse. But different this time, clearer, sharper. No flickering edges, no blurred uniform. Just a woman in an old-fashioned white dress, her face pale, her mouth closed. She looked alive. Her eyes. Yes, she had eyes now, locked onto mine. And for the first time, I thought I saw pity in them. Then she lifted a trembling hand and pointed behind me. I turned. At the far end of the corridor, the black dog stepped out of a doorway. Its claws clicked against the linoleum, slow and deliberate. And the fluorescent lights above us began to go out, one by one, chasing me into the dark. The lights snapped out overhead like dominoes falling, each one plunging the corridor deeper into shadow. I ran. I didn't even know which way anymore, just away. My shoes squealed on the linoleum, my lungs burning. Phone clutched so tight the cracked glass bit into my palm. Behind me, the claws clicked, unhurried. The sound carried no matter how far I got, echoing in my chest, in my teeth, in my bones. The corridor forked, and I veered left without thinking. More doors, more empty rooms flickering with failing lights. The smell of antiseptic grew sharper, stinging my eyes. My phone buzzed again. I almost didn't look, but instinct won. No exit. The letters burned so bright, they seared into my vision. I stumbled, crashed against a wall, and looked back, just for a second. The hallway behind me was gone. Not collapsed, not dark, gone. Replaced by a black smear that stretched forward, swallowing tiles, swallowing walls, swallowing light. The dog was in it, its shape indistinguishable from the void itself, its claws scraping on nothing. I turned back. The nurse was there, standing in the corridor ahead, her body already flickering, fading like static on a dying screen. She raised her hand once more, not pointing this time. Reaching. "Please," I begged. "Help me." Her lips parted. And then every light in the hospital went out. "I'm still here." I don't know where here is, but the claws haven't stopped. They're circling me now, so close I feel the floor tremble. The phone is buzzing again. One last message. Don't blink. And I'm so goddamn tired.